a trip to space with 19 of your closest friends, the Monalisa painting, the naming rights to 10 NFL stadiums. Those are just a few of the things $1 billion could buy you. And that's exactly what El Chapo, the imprisoned leader of the Sinaloa cartel, is worth. The amazing thing about this level of wealth is that it's a drop in the ocean for organizations like the Sinaloa cartel. In fact, despite how rich the criminal conglomerate is, they are hardly the richest criminal organization in the world. They don't even make the top 4 list. El Chapo himself is rather poor when compared to the leaders of these disgustingly rich organizations. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at some of the richest criminal conglomerates in the world. You should watch the video if you'd like to learn about how these criminal organizations made their money, how much they control, and how they keep it safe from the authorities. The country of Italy is one of the best places to be in the summertime. The food is amazing, the weather is fantastic, and the sights are pretty breathtaking as well. One could visit Italy and live there forever without even noticing something wrong. It's the perfect place to live. But there's another side to Italy. It's also the perfect place for criminal gangs, or the mafias as they are often called. The underbelly of Italy is run by multiple mafias. These gangs are usually locked in a brutal battle for supremacy and are as ferocious as any group of criminals. For some reason, the mafia in this country also love well-tailored suits. One of the biggest mafias in Italy right now is a little hard to pronounce outfit named 'Ndrangheta. The gang is the second largest mafia in Italy and is certainly amongst the richest organizations in the world. This particular gang is based in the Calabria region of Italy. The 'Ndrangheta Mafia makes its money much like every other mafia group makes its money. The organization is involved in all manner of crime, including extortion, racketeering, prostitution, arms trafficking, money laundering, and loan sharking. The gang has its fingers in every pie of organized crime, and it eats well. However, the mainstay of this gang, and the reason it made this list, is drug trafficking. The gang is so competent at drug trafficking that it managed to create a near monopoly of drug trafficking in Europe. Unsurprisingly, the gang has also made close ties with cartels in South America. Hence, 'Ndrangheta controls the transatlantic drug trade, and it has made billions of dollars from it. Right now, the organization has a revenue of around $4.5 billion, making it one of the richest organizations in the world. Aside from running the drug trade in Europe, the 'Ndrangheta has also expanded to America as well. The crime family has helped prop up other Italian crime families like the Gambino and the Bonanno in America as well. Despite having crime connections all around the world, 'Ndrangheta is still not the richest criminal organization in Europe. They aren't even the richest in Italy. That title belongs to the Camorra gang family. The only real difference between the 'Ndrangheta and the Camorra is that the Camorra family is a lot bigger than the 'Ndrangheta. They are both involved in the same sort of crime. They do everything from sexual exploitation and firearms trafficking to drug trafficking and extortion. There is no crime too brutal or too despicable for the Camorra family to be involved in. Their brutality and shrewdness with crime have been extremely financially beneficial to them. It's been so beneficial that the family rakes in almost $5 billion a year in revenue. That's more money than half of the companies on NASDAQ rake in per year. The interesting thing about the Camorra crime family is that it's an extremely old gang. Perhaps that's the reason it has been so successful. The organization started in the 19th century as a prison gang, but then a few members of the organization got out of prison and met a society in dire need of its services. The gang became quite useful to politicians during the 1800s. They offered protection services to politicians and served as a means of organization for Italy's poorest. Since then, the wealth, power, and influence of the Camorra family has only grown. In the beginning of the 20th century, the family was one of the first to properly export its ethos and criminal capacity to America. The Camorra gang has been able to maintain its influence and capacity in Italy because it's uniquely difficult to defeat. Their capacity for violence is unparalleled in Italy, and they spare no one on their path. The fact that the family has successful politicians in its pockets makes things even harder, as these politicians exist to protect them from justice. Aside from that, the Camorra Mafia is a highly decentralized outfit. There isn't any clear leader, so the police find it hard to just go after one person. The gang can be described as a hydra with multiple heads. If one is cut off, another one grows in its stead. The Camorra may be the biggest gang in Europe, but it's hardly the biggest one in the world. That title belongs to the Yamaguchi Gumi. The Yamaguchi is not just one of the richest criminal organizations in the world, it also happens to be the biggest in terms of sheer size. Yamaguchi Gumi is also known as the Yakuza, and they are a band of gangs that terrorize Japan. The Yakuza presently make more money from drug trafficking than any other illegal trade, and it's the mainstay of their business. The Yakuza traffics all manner of drugs no matter what they do and how they look like. This capacity to move tons of drugs from one place to another earns the Yakuza a lot of money yearly. Current estimates are that the gang makes up to $6.6 billion every year. Aside from drug trafficking, the Yakuza also make money from gambling and extortion. They make money from dispute resolution too, which is a testament to how entrenched the Yakuza is in Japanese society. The Yakuza is probably one of the oldest criminal organizations in the world. The history of the organization dates back to the 18th century when the Yakuza was merely a gang of loosely organized criminals. However, in the years following that period, the Yakuza have grown into something else entirely. They are now a highly centralized band of criminals who, quite simply, run the Japanese underground. What makes the Yakuza fascinating is their high level of centralization. They operate with a clear hierarchy where every member knows their place in the pecking order. Additionally, the Yakuza members are easily identifiable as they extensively adorn their bodies with tattoos that symbolize their loyalty and allegiance. These tattoos, which can take years to complete and are often made using traditional hand-poke methods, are considered as a badge of honor that represents their strong commitment to the Yakuza. The Yakuza have a lot of rituals that it insists followers should adhere to. A particularly barbaric example is Yubitsumi, the amputation of the little finger. The member cuts off the tip of his little finger as a sign of apology or contrition for a mistake he made. The practice is believed to have originated as a way to show that the member is willing to make sacrifices for the good of the group. The richest criminal organization in the world is none other than the Solensetskaya Bratva. Unlike the Yakuza and the Italian mafias, the Russian mafias don't get a lot of screen time in popular media. People hardly know about them, and this means they aren't really scared of them either. Even South American gangs, like the Sinaloa cartel, terrify people more than the Russian mafia. What the Russian mafia doesn't have in fame, it makes up for in wealth. The organization is really into the drug trafficking business, and according to experts, it dabbles heavily in human trafficking too. Interestingly, the Russian mafia is the main criminal entity behind the Afghanistan drug trade. Since Afghanistan is the source of a lot of drugs globally, it only makes sense that the party that controls the supply turns out to be extremely wealthy. What makes the Solensetskaya Bratva so rich is that the organization isn't just one organization, it's more accurately a federation of groups. Right now, the Solensetskaya Bratva consists of 10 quasi-autonomous gangs. These gangs are extremely autonomous when it comes to day-to-day crime, but they decided on larger details of strategy as a group. Importantly, the group also pools its revenues together. That's why the Solensetskaya Bratva earns over $8.5 billion every year. The money pooled together by the organization is usually overseen by a 12-man council that meets regularly in different parts of the world, often disguising their meetings as festive occasions. The group currently has nearly 10,000 members, and analysts estimate that that number will only continue to grow. The wealth of these criminal organizations will only continue to increase if they aren't dismantled. But of course, that's the million-dollar question. Who can destroy criminal organizations raking in billions of dollars in revenue?